All right, everyone, welcome this morning. This week, the Blue Raiders will head to Memphis to take on the Tigers. It's at 6:30 on ESPNU. So to get us started, we'll start with Coach Mason. If you are on Zoom, remember to raise your hand and we'll get to you. And then we'll have our student athletes after Coach Mason. All right, thank you.
How y'all doing today, man? It's Memphis week, and our football team, and it's coming off a weekend of bad weather and, in a football game in which we saw ourselves sort of fight through a little bit of adversity. But, out of adversity comes opportunity. I think opportunity this week, man, to go to Memphis is one that's a terrific challenge for us. I know Memphis had a tough loss to Navy, as I've had a chance to get through the tape and, see that football team. Memphis is a good football team. And I believe that football team, after looking at that game, they're gonna look at, their issues just like we have to look at our issues, address what's there. They're 3-1, we're 1-3. We've got to figure out, how to go to a place and get a win. And the important thing for us is to look at where we are, address any issues that we have. It's always about working towards progress, and I'm excited, this week to be able to take this challenge. I mean, it is a challenge. That's what the game of football is about, opportunities and challenge. And I saw some growth, so now what we got to do is make sure that there's more. So with that being said, I'll open it up for questions.
Coach, even in that loss to Navy, Memphis was able to put a lot of points on the board. What do you see from them, on both sides of the ball, but particularly offensively, in a group that's had some success early this season?
Yeah, Memphis has always been explosive. I mean, they got explosive athletes. They do a good job of creating, one-on-ones. They want the isolations, and they're solid in the run game. In their pass game, they find opportunities to not just create the one-on-ones, but create explosives. Right, so their run after catch is extremely good. We have to do a really good job of identifying the information in the formations this week, trying to limit the explosive plays down the field and making sure that they've got, to go the distance. But this is going to be about tackling, okay? And I know that's been an Achilles heel of ours. I mean, I think we're getting better. Each week, and we're starting to get a couple of guys back. So I think that'll help, like with our secondary a little bit. Not everything being new every week, not 50 first dates. So it should be important for us to make sure that we allow our guys to play fast, put ourselves in position to, again, be better or continue to progress in third down, because I thought third down efficiency was strong for us last week, and that's got to be a part of it, getting teams to third down and then getting off the field.
One of those guys you got back last week was Parker Hughes, who obviously had a strong game for you guys against Duke. What does he sort of unlock for this defense when he's on the field?
Well, as we get guys back, I think all these guys unlock, like different different sort of pieces to what we do. Parker can play in the box, outside the box. He can match running backs. He can match tight ends. He can play like in the middle zones, and he's good versus the run. But he can, find space in the pass, and he's a great blitzer. So for me, you get a great tool like coming back, and I think we saw parts of that last week in his first game back. But again, we have to look at, as we're getting guys back, how we deploy guys. And he's one of those guys that allows us to do a lot of things. So, like I said, as we're getting some guys back, hopefully we can start to get healthy at the right time and be a little multifaceted on defense in terms of what we do.
You mentioned wanting this team to strain more on both sides of the ball. Is strain just another synonym for effort, or is there something more to sort of that concept of straining and what you want this team to do?
Well, there's the idea of strain in terms of how you define it, and then there's what it looks like, right? It's really what happens at the end of plays, like in my opinion. You can play the play and you've played it good 90% of the time, but the toughest percentage of the play is always the last 10%, right? It's how you strain the block. It's how you strain to finish and tackling. When we talk about block destruction and being able to get off blocks, I think our guys are getting better at it. because they're starting to see it more. We're starting to give them more examples of what it looks like. But like in the end, you have to just keep defining it and make sure that the standard is the standard, right? Because I think everybody has a different standard of strain. Okay, like if you asked everybody in here what their standard for strain looked like, if they were going for a 10-mile run, some may say a 1-mile run. Some may say, hey, 8's good for me. Some may say, hey, look, I can't go 400 yards. At the end of the day, I think strain for everybody in here is a little different, and we're just trying to get everybody on the same page of what that looks like.
Oh, yeah, Coach, over the last 2 weeks, you guys have had your fair share of mistakes on the field, but how do you eliminate those mistakes going into Memphis and then heading into conference play?
I think we're starting to check mark some things off, a little at a time. Man, we had a 100-yard rusher this week, right? So we got back to the idea of running the football, and that was something that we wanted to do in this ball game. You have to have a run game to complement the pass game, and now what we got to add to that is the protection piece. We have one of the best quarterbacks, in my opinion, not only in the conference, man, but if you give him time in the country. So, like, the biggest thing is not allowing him to see ghosts. Doesn't have to, okay? That strain's got to show up there, right? And then we look at the idea of, what we're doing, collectively. I think we're getting better in areas. We got better in third down. So if we can start seeing the progress in the areas that are situational ball, right? And I'll speak specifically on sudden change. We had a lot of sudden change last week, okay? Duke had 28 points, man, we had none. Okay, off sudden change. The important thing in sudden change is let's be a disruptor. We have to find a way, man, to sort of turn the tide and get some momentum back. So, hey, man, if we get a turnover, we got to score points. Okay, man, if there's an opportunity, like for us to get the ball out of the air, man, we had a couple of opportunities to get the ball out of the air and on the ground. We got to get those. That's where the strain and effort and some of these things are starting to show up a little bit. Man, we just have to maximize our opportunities. And I think in maximizing our opportunities, man, we give ourselves a chance to play tight ball games. And I'll say this. You look at that ball game last week, okay, man, we lost by 28 points. How many turnovers did we have? 4. And if you count the punt, 5, right? So, you minimize the mistakes, you maximize the performance, and maybe you're kicking a field goal to try to win a ball game, right? So that's the way I think. Some people think half empty, I think half full, man, let's go. So we got to grab that piece. That's where the get better is.
Coach, Memphis has a really balanced offense, but running the ball, they're a borderline elite, 6 yards a carry for their top 2 running backs. How do you stop a rushing attack like that? Yeah.
This group, and I know Ryan Silverfield, we were together at the Minnesota Vikings. We worked across the office from each other, and we saw each other every day. We're good friends. He has a physical mentality, so everybody thinks they just put it up, but they want to run the football as well. And what they do is, because of the speed that they have outside and because of the matchups they create, okay, they dare you to load the box, right? So, with that, man, you have to find creative ways to sort of mix up the things that you do so you can get hatched to the ball, because tackling their running backs are about population to the ball. So you got to be able to get hatched to the ball and get those guys before they get started, because once those guys get downhill, they're pretty good.
I was going to ask you about Ryan in your time together in Minnesota. What did you see in him then that told you, hey, this guy's on the rise? Because one of the things that I've seen come out of Memphis that they've really kind of praised him for is over Mike Norvell's tenure in Memphis. He was the only assistant that was there the whole time.
Yeah, Ryan was hardworking, loyal, smart. He worked on both sides of the ball. Okay, man, he had a chance to work with the O-line and the D-line, and he worked with really, Pat Morris, okay, one of the best O-line coaches around, and then he had a chance to work with Carl Dunbar on the defensive side of the ball. Ryan's as well-versed, okay, as a coach as you're going to find, because he spent time on both sides of the ball, and I think he really understands how to, attack things. He's a line guy by trade. So when you look at him, he understands how to manipulate fronts. Okay, and I think the other part of him that I really enjoyed is our conversations. That dude is probably as genuine as you're going to get, in terms of loyalty. So, like, for him, it was never about, I don't think it was about, finding other places to go. I think he found the right place in Memphis. I think he was loyal to Mike in that situation there at Memphis, and I thought he got rewarded, and I think he's rewarded them, because I think what you've seen in that program is that he's been consistently good and been able to put a winning product on the field. So, like, hats off to Memphis, hats off to Silver and what they've been able to do.
Hey, Coach. How does playing these Power 5 teams early in the season kind of help you prepare for the rest of the season, regardless of the result? Unfortunately, you were unsuccessful in the last 2 games with Ole Miss and Duke.
Yeah.
How does that help you prepare for the rest of the season, and does it affect confidence for the team?
You know what? Confidence is a fine line item. It's our job as coaches and their jobs as players to give best efforts, right? Sometimes we're judged on performance, but that doesn't mean that there's not progress, right? So, man, but we have to make sure, man, that we just keep talking about the progress because everybody else talks about the performance. How does it grow your team? It grows your team because what you have are young guys getting experience. When Parker Hughes wasn't playing, okay, man, we had young guys like Marion Bailey and some of our other backers, getting that experience. So with that being said, I think for us, playing a challenging schedule early sort of sets us up for where we need to go in conference, especially after this game, like there's sort of a 10-day bye. So we get a chance to get some guys back, fully healthy as we get ready to get into conference play and make a run. But the reality is, man, you can't substitute great teams that we play and those challenges that they present, because all they do is challenge us to be better in every way so that we can see where our deficiencies are and we can sort of attack those things to make sure that we're locked and loaded when we got to make a stretch run.
You had some success running the ball against Duke. Is that something you look to lean on more going forward?
I'm looking for the balance, right? It's run one week, it's pass next week. Look, this offense is capable of having great balance to it, but in order to have great balance, it has to be, blocking in the run game and protection in the pass game. Last week, you can go through and look at the tape, man, there was plenty of receivers running open. The quarterback just needs some time, right? I mean, it's not hard to find, Kelly and any of, like our other receivers. I'm looking up and Holden was open maybe 6 or 7 times, right? If we can just get the balance like to what we do, this offense got a chance to really get it going, and it's only a matter of time. Look, I'm just saying when, I'm hoping that it's like this weekend. That's what we're working towards. That's why we got time, right? We got time and preparation to go ahead and get into this week and make sure that we can, give our quarterback a plan and our defense as well as our special teams an opportunity to go to a place like Memphis, which is a hostile environment, because we're going to have to learn how to play well on the road, okay, in this conference in order to have some success. So this is a great learning opportunity for this football team.
MTSU doesn't have a home game for 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. How do you go into this trip away from the borough?
You know what? Again, just like I just said, I'm energized at the simple fact that we get to go play, in a top-tier team at home, on the road. We did it with Ole Miss, man, and I want to see what this team's sort of meter is, with having an opportunity to go on the road again in a hostile environment. Okay, but then play a football game. I think the first time, maybe we got a little unnerved. Now that you've been there and done that, let's see what it looks like, because I know going to Memphis is going to be a great crowd. But we've been to Ole Miss. It was a great crowd. Now what we got to do is go perform.
You're going up against quarterback Seth Hennigan.
Yeah.
What can you point out from his skill set?
I tell you what, he's good. He's good with the ball in his hands. I mean, you see him; he's accurate. He throws on time. He gives his receivers a chance, and he knows how to throw guys open. He pays attention, to the tape because he understands where the matchups are going to be. And so, with that, man, we're going to have to look to do some things in order to make sure that he can't always see exactly what he wants.
Coach, having a new 5 pretty much every week on the offensive line, how do you build that consistency facing a team like Memphis as you continue shuffling pieces up front?
Yeah, the consistency has been aloof, right? It hasn't been in our grasp. But you know what? We can't control that, but we can control what we do with what we have. and I think that's where the understanding of going into this week sort of helps us a little bit. We understand what we don't have, and we understand what we do. So let's make sure, man, that we put these guys in position, to play well. Again, strategically, okay, man, you got to look at, okay, what gives you an advantage if you have one, okay? I wouldn't say there's a ton of advantages, okay, in this, man, but there is a lot of opportunity, and we've got practice. And these 3 days of practice will lead us to where we need to go on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Anything else for Coach?
Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
All right, everyone, now time for our student athletes. Today we got quarterback Nick Vato and linebacker Parker Hughes, and we'll get started with Nick.
Nick, obviously not a lot of consistency week to week for what the offense is doing successfully right now. What do you think is going to be key to getting that balance that coach is looking for?
Yeah, I think it just starts in practice. Whatever we deem necessary that we need to work on, as if it's taking care of the ball, sustaining drives, being more consistent within the run and the pass game. It just starts in practice, because that's the only thing you can do after a game is you get back on the field, and that's how you fix things. And it's not going to be something where we're going to sit in a meeting room and figure out all the solutions to all the problems we have. But we're going to get out on that field, and our guys are going to work hard. And whatever happens like throughout the week, coach tells us how you practice on Tuesdays, how you play on Saturdays. So we're just going to attack the week like we need to, and in order to give ourselves a chance to win, and we'll go from there.
How much do you think you've grown, since you've become the full-time starter, sort of in the mental aspect of being a quarterback, understanding, how to slide protections, understanding, hots and things like that?
Yeah, I think my knowledge of the game has grown tremendously since I've been a freshman, and then especially, when you become a starter and you're just getting those game reps, it's even more so. When you're seeing it play in and play out, you kind of see what defenses do, how defenses can manipulate you. And, I'll give credit to Duke. I thought they had a really good scheme, and they executed that scheme really well. Thought their twists up front were very good. I thought their players on the back end did a very good job in coverage. And I think, we're going up against a team this week in Memphis who have a very talented defense as well in terms of their front seven and their back end when they work together. And so I think that I've been very fortunate enough, especially to be around a lot of good coaches in my time, and being with Coach Reeder, I think he's really expanded my knowledge of the game, and that is something we take a lot of pride in, whether it's protections, run checks in the run game, making sure that our receivers are on the same page if they have certain reads in their route. A lot goes into it, but I think a lot of credit to Coach Reeder and the coaches I've been around who have just kind of, they've taught me a lot of what they know, and I've just tried to take that and translate it into my game onto the field. And you're always trying to get better and work at it. So just gotta each day is it's a process.
Part of that growth, patience, because there are things this year with injuries that are things you can't control. Mm-hmm. But and like Coach said, you want to get to a point where every week's not 50 first dates, but mm-hmm. to where you're not dealing with, having to start from scratch every week, in particular with the guys in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, you can't control it. If you could control it, it'd be a lot easier. But, listen, you can't control it, and that's just something that you got to accept. And, I know those guys up front are working hard. In week one we lose 2 starters, Julius and Body, and that hurts a lot. But we've had a lot of guys step up, and before the game last week, Marcus goes down, and we have to have guys step up, and we've had true freshmen like Zach Clayton who have done a good job embracing their role, and guys who have just kind of been shuffling in, but those guys are working their tails off, and they're doing what they can, and they can't control anything that happens, and none of us can control anything that happens, but whatever does happen, we're going to accept it, and we're going to face it head on, and we're just going to go together as a unit and kind of go from there. And like you said, it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of just composure to not get frustrated about it, and you kind of got to figure your way through it as it goes. But we're working together as a unit, and we're going to go as far as we allow ourselves to go. So.
Zach, like you, is true freshman that's had to step up, in a situation. What's led him to being, successful, being able to be put in that position so early in his career?
I think his attitude and his work ethic has allowed Zach to just be above and beyond, I think, in everything he does. I mean, he's battling day in and day out. He's working hard at practice, and he's also not afraid to ask, like, the older guys for advice or for help. I see him in there. Simon and Marcus helping him out. And, even Julius has been out, but he's been trying to be around for the guys and, just trying to just give his knowledge to young guys like Zach. And I think Zach's done a great job of, just like he had to step up early on, whether he knew he was going to have to or not. And, he's done a great job just kind of taking in all the knowledge he can, but also translating it to the field. And I commend him for it.
Parker, same question I sort of led off with Nick. What's the key for this defense finding more consistency going forward in the weeks ahead?
We just got to continue to run to the ball. We got to have great pursuit. We got 11 guys on the field that just want to have their hair on fire and go attack.
Talk a little bit about your the weight you had to go through to finally get back on the field, and I talked to Nick about patience. You had to have patience as well to recover after an injury.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you go through an injury like that, surgery, you're out for a couple months. You got to have patience. I mean, patience is key. You got to continue to take it day by day. So I was telling people, it's a progress. I mean, you got to continue. You can't be in the weight room, can't work out, can't give, I love to work, as a linebacker, you got to be strong. So, you just got to take it day by day, and it's a process. And Keith and his staff done a great job, every day in there. I felt good, and, they did good things for me. So just continue to take it day by day.
This week with Memphis, face another good quarterback that has got some experience, able to do some things. You had the chance to take a look at him on film, and what are your first impressions?
Yeah, he's a good quarterback. I mean, he makes plays. I watched him play, Florida State. And, he's a good quarterback. So, he's continue to do what we do, control what we control. And we populate to the ball, play hard. We'll be all right.
While you were working your way back, I saw you hop in with the scout team a little bit in practice. What did you sort of take away from that experience, at this point in your career, going back to sort of that environment?
For sure. The scout team, has a chance to just go out there and play hard and get a feel for the game. I mean, I've done a scout team many times. As a redshirt freshman. If you're over there, you go over there to get better. Mentally, you don't think about it as a scout team. You go over there and you play hard. You continue to just work on what you got to work on, detail it up. And, if you need to be a linebacker that's more physical, you do that over there and take things, just keep doing that. Appreciate it.
All right, everyone, as a reminder, we'll be getting into our midweek game. So next Monday, there will not be a press conference. We'll have one the following Monday on October 7th. So look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.